Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is Taking Back Friday. This is our live stream that we do every month on the second Friday of every month. And we're here to talk about all the things that are going on behind the scenes at Sweet Georgia, what's been happening here. My name is Felicia, and I'm going to share with you so many things that are on my desk today. And we are talking about socks. October is the month of Socktober. So let me see if I can get all of these things ready for you and show you what's happening. We have Bridget here in the chat room as well today. We have Greta here in the chat room from the studio. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Sounds like a musical. I hope that everything is all going to be working today. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so let me show you what I have on my plate for today. These are the things that we were going to talk about today. So we generally hang out here for probably about 45 minutes to an hour. These live streams are obviously recorded. You can come back and watch anytime. But basically, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a recap of all the things that have happened since last time we met, last month. Lots and lots of things have happened. And then, of course, we're going to do our secret stash reveal that we do every month for the Secret Stash subscription club. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on inside the school as well. And then I have my whole desk is literally covered with socks. And so we're going to talk about that. And I have a final special project to share with you guys as well. Now, this is just a snapshot of what has been on my loom recently. I'm in love with it. This is actually kind of a interesting thing to me is that Greta knows when we dyed this warp, we were dyeing this warp as part of the course that we're putting together for the School of SweetGeorgia called Hand Painted warps, basically dyeing and weaving with hand painted warps. And when I first dyed this warp, I thought it was a mistake. I thought it was too dark. I thought that it was going to be terrible. And so I kind of didn't include it in the course. But I still have this warp, and I decided I'm going to just, you know, work with it anyways because it's there. And so the loom was free. I decided to tie on and I started weaving, and I love it. Like, this is absolutely the most beautiful thing I think that I've been able to play with for some time now. So I'm loving this. I do feel like this is definitely my thing, my wheelhouse. I want to do more of this, and I'm really, really excited to share with you guys the actual course when it comes out next month. We've just watched all of the review videos that Kathy has edited for us, and it looks so great. So excited to share that with you guys very, very shortly. But let's go on to other things that have happened. So the first thing is that basically directly after our last meeting, when we last did this live stream in September, we had our open studio at this Sweet Georgia studio to celebrate 19 years of hand dyeing here, 20 years of making content, all of that kind of stuff. And so we have here a couple of snapshots from that day, from that open house day. Teresa arranged for these amazing cupcakes that literally look like flowers. Like, the tops of these cupcakes were decorated to look like bouquets of flowers. They look fantastic. So there's Teresa with her family and Hubert and Kayla. We also have Charlotte here helping pick colors. We're talking about that Jethro cardigan that I was finishing at the time. It was not finished. There were some folks who came to the studio and were hoping that I had finished the cardigan already and was wearing it, but I was not. It was still about to be seamed together. It was kind of a busy time. And then we did a little bit of CSM demos as well at the studio. So that all happened, and it was wonderful to see everybody. I remember kind of like the last time we did something remotely like this, it was almost 9 years ago. I mean, I have photos from our 10-year anniversary when we did a big party at the studio. And then I can't even believe that it's been this many years since we've really like done something like that. So that's 19 years. Next year will be 20. So we will be doing something next year that will hopefully be really, really great. So that is that. And then right after that, I headed out to Sun River in Oregon to teach at the VOG Knitting Retreat. So VOG Knitting Live, they host destination retreats all over the place. You can sort of follow along with where they're going next at vogueknittinglive.com. They have lots and lots of events all over. Carla Scott, who helped sort of coordinate, and she was on site and at our retreat when we were hosting it at Sun River. She had just come back from Oslo. So they just finished a tour, a knitting tour in Oslo, and then she directly came over to Oregon and then did another retreat, and then she was off to the next location. And it's wonderful. These retreats, because they organize so many, they're very, very, very well organized. Everything was wonderful and beautiful, and you could see like they picked this gorgeous destination. There were horses, like you could go horseback riding. There was kayaking, there was a beautiful river, just the whole setting was gorgeous. And I was teaching alongside Patty Lyons. So Patty was teaching short rows, 5 different ways to knit short rows. And then I was in another room and I was teaching color and how to work with color, how to make color combinations and things like that. But they'd organized some wonderful things in the evening. And so there's one night where they did like a big fire pit and you could do s'mores. They had a bar where you could do all the s'mores. And they also brought in an astronomer to come and help you see what you could see in the night sky, because the sky was perfectly clear. It was cloudless sky. So we saw all sorts of things. He showed us like a cluster of 1,000 stars. He showed us Saturn. So I got to look through the telescope and see Saturn. That was very just unbelievable. I feel like, I can understand, like, the lust or the want to, get closer to the stars. The more you look, the more you want to get closer and see more, so I could see how that obsession could start. So that was all super, super fun. But you can see in this photo here on the very left-hand side, this is my, Jethro cardigan being hung on the knitting machine, to knit the sleeves. So this is a Sunday working on the sleeve number 1 of the Jethro cardigan. And I think my most recent video here on YouTube is about how I ended up finishing the entire cardigan just in time. I was still, binding off and all that kind of stuff at the airport on the way to Oregon. But once we were there, I got to teach my color play class. So color play is a class that we offer on the School of SweetGeorgia. You can find all of that content. It's actually open and available, and you can look through all the content. But part of the fun and the joy of doing color play together as a group in person is that you get to see and touch and feel the colors, put them close to each other, make your own color combinations. And so that's what we had the opportunity to do at that event. Our team here was incredible and prepared 400 tiny little micro skeins, so mini skeins, and provided, yeah, 400 micro skeins to all of the participants. And then the job or the task was basically to pick a color and then pick some more colors and make a combination and pick some more colors and make a combination, and talking about like the how to describe all of these different colors, basically. So that's was a super, super fun thing that we got to do over the 2 days as well. And then you can see my Jethro cardigan in the corner here. I did end up finishing it, and I wore it at the event. Finished it in the hotel room before I went to the reception. So that is what happened there. Now, I want to share with you guys the next part, which is our secret stash. So, secret stash. Secret stash is our monthly club. It's our monthly colorway club. It's a yarn club. We also have it as a fiber club. And so every month, what we do is we create a brand new color with a color story. And so we're not always working from like a picture and then going from that picture inspiration. We're very often going from all sorts of different kinds of inspiration. These inspirations are sometimes stories, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's all sorts of different things. And so this month, being October, I thought about the idea of doing sort of a Halloween kind of theme, spooky theme kind of colorway. And obviously, because we had Beetlejuice coming out, Beetlejuice is a thing right now. And that was coming out. And I was like, oh, well, we should probably do kind of like a Beetlejuice themed colorway. And so that's a little bit of where we started, but that is definitely not where we ended up. So you can see this little screenshot here. This is a screen grab from Beetlejuice. And Beetlejuice, the first movie, came out when I was a kid. And I remember being a little bit spooked out about it. But in any case, I did go through a phase like when I was much, much younger where I loved horror movies. I loved scary movies. I loved sort of the thrill of all of that. And I used to even host Halloween parties where we would do horror movie marathons. I watched The Ring in both English and Japanese. Like I loved those scary movies. And then like over time, as I sort of changed and had kids and had a family and things like that, I can no longer watch horror movies. I don't know if anybody's come to this experience before, but like I'm at a place where I can't watch any scary movies anymore. I'm it scares me. And so just the thought of like making this colorway and making it Beetlejuice themed, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and watch Beetlejuice to kind of like remember what it was like. And then I queued it up and I watched about 2 seconds of it. No, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so we kind of started in this spot. And then I moved it towards this spot. So this is a little bit more of my Halloween vibe right now. This is actually a spot in Richmond near where we live. And it is near London Farm. It's like at the very, very bottom of Steveston in Richmond. And it's like right by the river. And this I don't think it's open to access anymore, but we used to call it the spooky forest. And so if you go at certain times of the day, it has like a mist going through it and there's like forest and it does have very, very spooky vibes. We did one time walk all the way into it and there's like a clearing and there was like seating. It was a little bit odd. So it's been closed off now. I don't think you can go in anymore. But that is a photo that I shot of the spooky forest. And I kind of have this vibe of like, I can sit on the outside of that spooky forest. I can look into it, but I don't need to or want to go into it anymore. I'm okay with that. Um, but the name of this colorway is called Favorite Worst Nightmare. And so we'll talk about that in a second, but I do want to show you what color came out of that. And so this is the colorway that we created with that sort of spooky forest kind of subtle Beetlejuice vibe. So there's a little bit of forest greens, it's deep, it's moody, it's dark, it's kind of like murky, a little bit like that. And at the same time, it has a little bit of a tinge of purple, all of that going on inside as well. We dyed it on the Trifecta Fine base yarn, which is our new yarn that we're using for socks. It's beautiful. It's like an untreated blue face Leicester wool. 15% mohair for a strength. So there's no nylon in this one at all. And then 10% silk for a little bit of sheen, a little bit of shine. And that is the color that we put together for this October. I'm going to show you a little bit of close-ups here as well. See if I can do that here. This is that spooky forest color. And we're calling it Favorite Worst Nightmare. So you can see it's got like, yeah, the greens in it and things like that, a little bit of purples tinged with a tiny bit of, you can see some purple. Oh yeah, you can definitely see some purple in there. Yeah, so that is the color that we came up with for October. I like it. And part of the reason why we called it this favorite worst nightmare is the that name, Favorite Worst Nightmare, is actually the name of the second album of the band Arctic Monkeys. And so the reason why this is long, convoluted story is that Arctic Monkeys is a band that came out like many, 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 many years ago. And it blew up. Their first album blew up and they were like I don't know, lauded as like the most amazing band ever or something like that. It was just really, really a lot of publicity, a lot of press, and just this band became blew up very, very quickly. But the leader of that band at that time was only 15 years old. He was a kid. Like, I think about it now, like, my son is turning 11 next month, and I just think, like, what if like, how would that feel if you were so young and all of this, attention was on you, and you were, like, amazing at that young age? And so, watching how that band and that singer, Alex Turner, how he sort of like evolved over the years. I think now he's like almost 40 now. And it's just his voice has changed, his accent has changed. He used to have a very strong Sheffield accent, and his whole accent has changed. The style of his music has changed. The genre of his music has sometimes changed. He has like moved to different areas and then picked up different influences. And of course, like over your whole life, you change and evolve and you creatively become a different person. And so if you listen to like an album that he has now to an album that he had when he was 15, they're completely different. Which makes sense because you are a different person now. You've evolved and changed. And so the reason why this color I think is so fun and so interesting is because of this idea that you can change. I love seeing people creatively evolve. And so something that was like super exciting and wonderful and amazing for you when you were 15 or 18 or 20 will be so different now, years and years later. And this all kind of goes back to the Sun River experience as well, because I went to Sun River maybe almost 15 years ago. And I remember being at that event. I was at SOAR. It was a spinning retreat that was held at that resort, same resort, Sun River. And I remember being in like the change room or locker room and overhearing some other people have a conversation. And somebody was saying, "What was the best year of your life? What was the best, what was the best decade of your life?" And the woman was like, "Oh, yeah, my 60s, definitely my 60s. My 60s were the best time of my life because, that's when I felt comfortable with myself. That's when I felt good about who I was and everything." And so at the time, 15 years ago, I remember hearing that story and then just feeling always like the best is yet to come, that there's still more, that things get better, that we're going to evolve and we're going to change, and there's still more to come. And again, like on this recent trip to Sun River, I spent, the weekend with all these amazing, wonderful people who, some of them were, 74, 75, 79 years old, and they were all like vibrant and excited about learning new things, like curious, very just so alive and wanting to enjoy and celebrate life. And I just thought that was super, super inspiring to be in the company of people who were just continuing to evolve and change and learn. So that was wonderful. And so that's kind of where all of this comes from. Yeah. So Favorite Words Nightmare is the second album of the Arctic Monkeys. I love that band. And that is the name for this particular color that is all spooky forest themed. Yeah. So we wanted to take that spooky forest color, and because it is October, we wanted to try doing a couple of different things with the socks. Um, we're learning about new ways to make socks, new construction techniques. And so this set of socks, this was made by Anita. So Anita knit these socks, but the pattern was designed by Holly Yo. And so this pattern has come out last month, but they're called Over Easy socks. And you can find the pattern for Holly Yo's socks here, Over Easy socks. And it's a very different way of constructing socks. So let me see if I can show you here what that looks like. So these are the Over Easy socks, and they are knit from the cuff, but they're knit flat. So you knit only half of the sock back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then you turn the heel doing your short rows, and then you knit this way, do short rows, picking up all your short rows, And then on the bottom of your foot, you're going to pick up all of the stitches along the sides, and then you knit the heel, and then you knit the back. Or you maybe knit the back and then you go the heel. Anita can maybe correct me. But basically, you're knitting half at a time. So you're knitting only half of the circumference of the sock. And so because of that, the colors pool a little bit differently. And so some of the over easy socks could be knit with the top half in a different color. And then the bottom half, you change colors. So you could have like lots of different things going on in these socks. But this is also similar to a way that you can make socks on a flatbed knitting machine as well. You kind of knit just the top or just the bottom, and then you flip it over, and then you knit the other side, and then you pick up stitches as you go. And so that's a totally different construction technique. Very, very cool. And I don't think you could do this on a CSM kimono. I think that this is more like if you were doing a flatbed knitting machine, you could do this. I think Robin Gibbons, who's in our school, she has actually knit socks on her knitting machine, on her flatbed knitting machine, and it's a very similar format. But you can see here also the heel has a um, very interesting construction as well. So it's kind of got these double wedges here. So the toe looks like short row, and then this double wedge here for the heel. So this makes like very rounded heel, but I'm sure that you could try different heel constructions if you wanted to do just one. For short row, you could do all sorts of things. If you wanted, you could maybe even do an afterthought heel and just knit down one side, knit up the other side, and then leave a gash and then fill it in with your afterthought heel, which could also be maybe a different color. So many different things that you could do. So that is one of the ideas. That's the over easy socks, and Anita knit a pair of these. They look great. And they're very fast, apparently. I've been told. They're very fast to knit because they're sort of ankle high. So they're just very quick and easy, and a great way to use up little scraps of yarn and things like that, little bits and pieces of yarn. Now, for me, I'm also trying new things. And so this is actually a mock rib sock that I made on this is a mock rib sock that I made on the circular sock knitting machine. So this is 64 stitches around, but what I did was I basically took some needles out. So every fourth needle was removed from the machine. And so you can see that's where a fake sort of mock ribbing is happening. So what looks like it should be a rib actually is just stitches that are missing in here. And I made a complete and full video on how to actually crank those socks. And so that video about making the mock rib socks, that's going to come out actually next Friday. That's coming out. Mock rib on the CSM. It is actually way easier than I thought, and it actually fits really, really great. So I love these. So these are the other ones that you can give a try. So that is basically what we have for October for the secret stash. So if you wanted to get next month's secret stash, the deadline to sign up for the subscriptions is October the 15th. It's always the 15th of the month. Today is what, the 11th? So we still have a couple more days. And of course, we always make a couple of extras in case you wanted more of this sock yarn, in case you wanted more to make something a little bit bigger. Maybe you want to make a sweater or a vest. I feel like the subtle sort of quality of this particular colorway is actually really, really wearable. I love it. And I love the way that the colors turned out on this. Yeah, there's like a difference even in how the colors presented on these two socks, two different ways of doing socks. Very subtle. I loved it. So that is that. And then the next thing that we were going to talk about is the school. Oops. So here, this is a reminder that we have our School of SweetGeorgia. We are doing so many things inside the school. A lot of the school is these courses that we have, there's a lot of content in the school in order to teach you lots of things about the fiber arts. Again, our whole goal with the school is to teach the entire spectrum of the fiber arts so that you can understand, if you know a little bit about yarn, how yarn is made, it informs your knitting, it informs your crocheting, it informs how you weave. Maybe if you learn to spin, you might also be curious about dyeing fiber. You might be curious about fiber prep. Um, if you're dyeing lots of yarn, maybe you're interested in learning how to use that with weaving, because weaving eats yarn, crochet eats yarn, lots of different ways to use lots and lots of yarn. So the fiber arts is just a wonderful sensory play with fiber and color. And so we are enjoying all of that here in the school, just making sure everybody knows all the skills to get the best out of their experience. So you can see here we have some overshot weaving going on over here. We have some rolags made on a blending board. We're talking about making socks and how to knit socks. If you've never knit socks before, we have lots and lots of classes about knitting socks. We have lots of weaving classes, and this one was made on a baby wolf, but you could make this on a rigid heddle loom as well. This is a color gamp. So lots and lots of things to play with. And so we are doing lots of things inside the school. And I wanted to show you the most recent class that we released, and that is a class on spin to knit a hat. So Rachel Smith, you may recognize her from Woolen Spinning, from Welford Pearls. Rachel has been a long time spinner, and she also knits and she also weaves. She also makes tons and tons of different things. And so she came to teach a class with us in the past. She taught us spin to knit socks, and then spin to knit a sweater, and now this is spin to knit a hat. And a lot of this is because, a hat is a small and relatively compact size item that could be made relatively quickly. And so you can use whatever handspun you already happen to have, or you can sample. You can learn to use your fiber, sample with it to see what the qualities are that you can pull out of that fiber and, you know, enhance and showcase. And then how are you going to work with that in a project? And so a hat size project is like the perfect size project for something like that. So this is just a photo of some of the samples that she spun. This is all Corriedale fiber. It dyed in our patchwork quilt colorway. And yeah, so there is the link to the actual course that you can go see, schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/courses/spin to knit a hat. And I have a couple more photos here as well. So these are some of the samples that she knit up using that brioche technique, two-color brioche. And I have the actual hat here. I can show you. If I can find my thing. Here it is. So this is, focus there. This is that brioche hat with her hand spun in it. And you can see it's two colors. So the bright penny color on the inside, this is worsted yarn, and then her hand spun is on the outside. And you can turn it inside out. It is reversible. It's a very different effect on the other side here. So on this side, you can see mostly this solid colored yarn, and then the hand spun is on the inside. You could wear it either way, but this hat turned out great. And it's just like a small little project that you could use your hand spun for. So that is one of the hats that was shown in the class. And that's one of the things that was sort of sampled for. Another one that was sampled for is this one. This one is called the Tulsi hat. You see the focus. There you go. So there is a lace hat, and in order to sort of, help emphasize and really make clear looking lace, you want a yarn that is not fuzzy, not woolen, but something that's smooth and can show these defined edges for the eyelets and everything like that. And so I believe Rachel ended up going with a 4-ply yarn for this one. It's beautifully spun, beautiful hand spun, really gorgeous. So She shows you the process of how she goes about sampling in order to make um, a yarn that would be perfect for lace like so. And then finally, there is another hat project here. This is called the WPI hat. And so this is basically whatever yarn you have, whatever handspun yarn you have, you can measure the wraps per inch. And then the wraps per inch will give you information about what gauge might work with that particular hat. And so therefore, you can then use her instructions to cast on and knit a hat. So this is the hat that was in the sample. And then Greta knit a hat. This is also Cordale. This is all gradient spun Cordale. I think it was 3-ply. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. And so this is all gradient Cordale. Beautiful, beautiful hat. And then knit up into that WPI wraps per inch hat pattern. And so that is Greta's hat. I believe this is Rachel's hat, Greta's hat, and then I started making one too. So this is my hat that is not yet blocked, and I was zooming along and I forgot to add the little ridge of garter right here. So it's this one here. I missed that, but I'm still going. It's almost done. But basically what I did was I actually spun this yarn earlier as part of the multi-craftual focus where we were talking about fractal yarns all summer. And so I spun this as a fractal and I started to knit the traveler cowl, but I think that my yarn is just generally, it's just too thin and it's more on the fingering weight side or light fingering as opposed to sort of a sport or DK weight. So I decided to hold two strands together, one from the inside and one from the outside, and holding the two strands together, knitting those together to make more of like a worsted weight fabric. And so it helps kind of like blend together all of those fractal spun yarns a little bit more. It's a little bit more overall purple. So that is happening. And this knits up super quick. A hat is a great thing to have sort of in your purse or in your pocket. So basically I put this in my project bag and I was carrying it on my wrist. And then I was knitting a hat basically everywhere I went at all of those retreats. It was actually super, super fun. This is from, which colorway is this from? This is from an established colorway, but I can't remember the name. I can let you know. Now I'm trying to think which colorway it is. But yes, that is from a colorway that we are making currently. The other thing, before I show you more about what's going on in the school, is that, yeah, I did knit actually quite a lot on that knitting retreat. Go figure. I actually ended up knitting an entire hat. So this is actually the Flicker and Flame hat. This is designed by Andrea Mowry, and I just used leftover BFL and Silk DK that I had on hand, and I used some hand spun that I had previously spun. I spun this hand spun, that blue color, for the night shift shawl that I was going to knit, that I have been knitting, but I decided not to use this color in the night shift shawl. So I had this hand spun lying around, sitting there. This color is called Celestial. Um, and we're going to talk more about that in coming weeks. But right now, that is the hat, one of the hats that I made. And then I started to make another hat, same pattern, but very different coloring. And this one is definitely more on the subtle side. So I wanted to have it be a little bit more blended in. And so this yarn, again, is the BFL and Silk DK. I believe this one is in Bright Penny. And then I'm using my hand spun, which I believe is in Gemstones. And yes, Greta is saying that this hat is Tanzanite. That's the name of the colorway. So yeah, I have my project that's going on right now. And yeah, I am convinced hats are the way to go. Hats are a quick win. Hats make you feel successful. Hats make you feel like you can do this and you can finish things. And yes, you can do it. And so that's why this pattern, yeah, I love this pattern. The wraps per inch pattern is now available. You guys can go check that out in the school. And pull out your hand spun and use your hand spun, and that will be great. So let me show you what is next. This picture, I just wanted to put this in because I took this picture and I love it. But this is our Bitmap towels. These are the summer and winter towels that we have been weaving inside the School of SweetGeorgia. This pattern is available now. Um, and yeah, you can see just like the variation between all these four different towels. So this one was in dukkha, this one is in singles, this one is pairs, and this one is a choose your own adventure, choose your own colors. And so for this one, our sample weaver, Leslie Green, she chose to use only the yellow color as the pattern weft. And so it just changes what the overall coloring is for the pattern for the towels. And so right now I have a set of these towels on my loom right now, and I have mm, cobalt blue, like a royal blue, turquoise, and a lime green going on. But rather than using the same colors over and over again, I want to incorporate completely different weft colors in the other towels. So we'll see how that all goes. And so that pattern is available as well in case you want to try something new. And wanted to let you know, give you a heads up that coming November 1st, we have not forgotten about rigid heddle weaving. Rigid heddle weaving, we are going to be doing a color and weave along starting November 1st. And so this pattern, you can see I'm only showing you the sneak peek of the warp as it was being wound. This design is designed by Amanda Wood. She teaches all of our rigid heddle classes inside the School of SweetGeorgia. And this pattern is going to become available at the beginning of November. And she has designed some gorgeous, beautiful log cabin scarf projects. And so this is the warp as it's going on, showing you sort of like the gradient effect of using a party of five. This was a party of five mini skein set combined with another solid color, and she's using that for log cabin. And yeah, we are going to weave some of these things together in November. So November and December, and obviously we'll be chatting about it and sharing about it. There's posts already in Discord about it under the Multi-Craftual Maker channel. And there's also going to be posts in the school forums as well. If you want to share, if you want to join in, if you have a rigid head of loom and you need to dust it off and do something with it, come weave with us in November and do this color and weave along. That would be really, really fun. In the meantime, you can also find some other classes that we have on the School of SweetGeorgia for rigid heddle. So we have color and weave on rigid heddle with Amanda. There's also the two heddle weaving class, and then there's a hand woven color class where we are also working with rigid heddles and hand dyed, hand painted yarns. Lots and lots of things to do. So I hope you guys will join us for that. Rigid Heddle. Like it's actually been really, really amazing. We were talking about finding different ways to teach kids about fiber arts and things like that. And I just watch my daughter, she's 8 now, 8.5 now, and she just finished weaving an entire scarf on the rigid heddle loom. She was using can't remember. It was a very narrow loom, and she's using the Tough Love sock in the Equinox colorway. And she basically used the silk mist, and she wove the entire length of a scarf, and then we hem stitched it and cut it off, and then washed it. And she gave it to my dad or her grandpa for his birthday, for his 79th birthday. So that was like really, really exciting to see. And I videotaped it, everything. But just to see her so proud to have finished something and then to have made it and given it to somebody and to see his surprise. And it was just like so, so wonderful. So again, if you have a rigid heddle loom, it's a wonderful way to make these beautiful gifts for people and a way to share weaving with others. So looking forward to doing that soon. So now we can talk about socks. Let's talk about socks. My whole desk is covered with socks right now. This photo here, this is actually um this is Greta and her two of her kids and one of my kids and all of their feet. And so we have socks for every size, for every member of the family, and very, very excited to share these things with you. This is the Back to Basics sock pattern. And so you can see there's four different sizes here. Show you. They are here. 4 different sizes of socks, all here. And they actually came from the class that we had taught for the School of SweetGeorgia called How to Knit Socks. And so this is a class that Tabitha taught where you learn to measure your foot and then calculate what your knitting pattern is going to be based on your gauge. And then you knit cuff down socks. You knit from the cuff and then, let's see here. Let's see. You knit from the cuff down the leg, and then you turn for the heel, and then you knit the foot, and then you knit a toe. And so that's how those socks happened. And so her class was about custom fit socks, meaning that you need to measure your feet and then calculate your gauge and all that kind of stuff, and then knit the socks. And then we thought it would be nice and easy if we made almost like a template or a recipe, so that way if you want to make this size, you can just use this number. And if you want to make that size, you can just use this number. And so basically we proliferated out all the possible sizes for the socks and then put them into a pattern that you can actually just use. So in case you don't have someone's foot to measure, you could still um, sort of follow some instructions in order to make these socks. And so the sock pattern is available right now, shop.sweetgeorgiayarns.com/product/back to basics socks. So the sock pattern is there and available for you if you wanted to hand knit some beautiful socks for your family. This is actually a really good time to start if you wanted to do that for the holidays and make a pair of socks for everybody in your family, depending on how big your family is. So that is that. We also have, yes, last day of Socktober sale is today. 30% off on all of the sock yarn that we have in the shop, except for minis, I think is what Teresa told me this morning. But that is that. I do want to show you some other things that are on my table right now. Let's do that. So this is this is my box of socks. Ta-da! I tell you that the reason why I'm so excited and so happy and so proud of these socks is because years and years and years ago, when Rachel came out with a class, Spin to Knit Socks, I was incredibly inspired by her hand spun socks. And so that was one of my goals, was to make a whole bunch of hand spun socks. So here are my hand spun socks that I made uh, on the circular sock knitting machine. But these are all sort of spun and then knit on the machine. And I love, love, love these socks. And then I cranked a whole bunch of other socks. There's look, socks in here from Club. There's socks in here from yarn that I bought from, this is Good Karma yarn that I got from the Crankin in Missouri. And then this is yarn that I got from Katrina at Crafty Jacks. This is her Wild Blossoms yarn. There are so many socks in here. There's socks from Double Sock Blanks. There are socks from our Double Dragon colorway that we did for Chinese New Year. And then we also have gradient socks in here. Like there's so many socks. This is striped socks that I finally cranked from self-striping yarn that I dyed for the School of SweetGeorgia. This is one of the classes that we did. We learned how to dye self-striping yarn. And then I finally managed to crank a pair of socks with it afterwards to show what that actually looks like. So many socks. There are socks with lycra in it. And then all of the socks on this side have been finished. All of the socks on this side have to have the toes grafted. And so that is a bit of the bottleneck right now, is grafting the toes of all of these socks. Yes. So I'm gonna have another video sometime soon, where I'm gonna show how I have been grafting all of the toes, because I do have a pattern where I graft the toes. Boy, Yeah, I do have a pattern. I have a video where I'm grafting the toes from the knit side, from the outside here. But I have recently started grafting the toes from inside out. So I'm grafting the toes from the inside out now, and it actually goes much, much faster. And so I'm looking forward to showing you how I do that as well. And you're asking, when working socks toe up, you don't need to worry about grafting after on a CSM. Yes, I have tried using the CSM to knit socks from the toe up, but I'm not good at it yet. So that's another challenge to do. But yeah, basically, I want to graft all of the socks in here so that way I actually have all of these socks to wear, and I haven't worn any of them because they're all like too precious to wear, which sounds ridiculous. But yeah, eventually I will start actually wearing the socks. I wanted to take a photo of all the socks first before I actually start wearing them. So I've just been making this entire chest of socks. So those are some of the socks that I've been playing with. The other things that I've been playing with is that we started doing more hand painted yarn recently. And I do love hand painted yarn. So here are some of the skeins of hand painted yarn that we've been playing with. This one is called Lighthouse. This is one of my favorites. This one we put into the faux cat scarf that we did for the School of SweetGeorgia a while back, and it makes for beautiful color transitions. This one is called Trail Runner, and this one, when you wind it into a cone, looks like this. And then when you go and you knit it into a sock, looks like this. So you can kind of see color changes quite significantly because the colors are being mixed up and moved around a little bit. And so that is what is happening there. Okay, you wind it into a cone and it looks like this. And then this is kind of how the color will knit on 64 stitches around. So 64 stitches around, the colors kind of blend up a little bit. But then you look here at this heel where I did the short row heel, and the colors pool really differently, obviously, because you're only working half of the stitches. You're only working half of the number. So this is 64 all the way around. This would be 32 on one side, and then obviously it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But at this point in time, you're getting sort of the color is doubling up a little bit. And so this is where we were thinking that if you were to knit these over easy socks, with a hand painted yarn like this, then you're only knitting back and forth on half the number of stitches. So you would get this kind of striping pattern or this kind of pooling pattern on the top or the bottom of the foot, wherever you choose to knit that hand painted yarn. So this is where you could really play with the different circumference or the different number of stitches, the different width of stitches, and that will produce completely different pooling patterns. So something to play with and enjoy. So this one is the Trail Runner. I did these ones with a contrasting toe and contrasting cuffs. And this one is Beachside Brunch. This one turned out very, very different as well. Um, and again, this is a lupine that I used for a contrasting color here. And this is the last one. This one, I can't remember what the name of this color is. But this one I think is my favorite. And then this one is Beach House up at the top here. But yeah, they look like Neapolitan ice cream cans. So some of the different ways that you could play with color as well. Sugar plum. Yes, thank you. So yeah, those are some of the socks that I have been knitting and cranking and playing with. They just look so different. And yeah, depending on what you want to use them for, they will pool and spiral in different ways, but they're really, really, really fun. So yes. So as a reminder, that is our Socktober sale. Last day will be today. Today is the last day. So 30% off on all of the fingering weight yarn, sock kits, sock blanks. at that address. Yes, so shop.sweetgeorgiayarns.com/collections/Socktober. And yeah, these are our new Eclipse colorways that are also available on Tough Love Sock. So you can find all of those there. Um, let's talk about the last thing now, which is this. So Clapo tea. Have you seen this item before? So this is this shawl here. So this is a stole that is called Clapo tea. Okay, it's inside out. If you've been knitting for some time, you might recognize this item. So this item, this design called Clapo tea was designed by Kate Gilbert, and we celebrated our like 2019 year anniversary. Knitty.com also celebrated their 20-year anniversary this year. Knitty.com is 20 years old, and so this is one of the patterns that has done like so amazingly well. I think that there are 24,000 of this shawl made in the world that were at least recorded on Ravelry. So this shawl called Clapotis uses a hand dyed yarn. Originally, it was Lorna's Laces, Lion and Lamb, and it was a hand painted yarn. And the whole idea is that this pattern can take a hand dyed, hand painted yarn and showcase it to the most beautiful that it can be. Basically, like just taking really wonderful advantage of shifting stitches, moving things around so that the colors mix and blend so that your hand dyed color looks really, really beautiful. And so that's what this shawl is all about. And so this one, they wanted to bring it back kind of to celebrate Clapo Tea in 20 years and all these kinds of things. And so Amy is running a giveaway. And oh, yeah, it's a giveaway, it's a contest. So basically, what you need to do is you need to knit yourself a clap of tea, and then you can take one photo of it and submit it before December 6th, before December 6th of this year. And then they will pick a winner, or they'll pick many, many winners actually. And then they will win uh, some hand-dyed yarn from a bunch of different indie dyers who are participating. We, of course, are participating as well. And so we have this yarn that we have available to win, which is Superwash DK. This is our Sweet Georgia Superwash DK. And then this color is Atlantis. So it's meant to be blue. It's not meant to be purple. It's very purple on screen, but it's meant to be kind of like a tealy sort of blue. So I'll show you in the slide, the color is more correct. But here is the photo. We had to submit a photo ourselves of the clapotis that we had knit and include that as part of the booklet that she created of all of these different indie dye yarns. And Bridget and I, we took all these photos of me holding up the clapotis, and we took beautiful photos. And then at the end, we read the instructions and said that we have to send a photo of the full thing showing sort of like head to toe. And so the only photo that I had that was head to toe had my face looking like that. And so that's why we sent that one. Um, but we otherwise had like some really lovely close-up photos of the dyeing and how beautiful the yarn looked. So that is the clapotis. It's a very interesting construction because you start sort of like knitting from a corner, and then you make more, you increase and add more stitches, and then you drop stitches. And so the drop stitches are what is forming those ladders, those giant ladders going down. And so it is full of drape. I'm sure you could do lots and lots of different things. But yeah, encourage you to knit your own clapotis in the yarn of your choice, and then take a photo and then submit your photo. And all of the rules and instructions are at Knitty. So knitty.com/issue deep fall or DF 24 and then clapotifest.php. So that is where you would go for that. Yeah, I encourage you to do that. I'm so curious to see 24,000 clapotis and what people have done and how people have made this. Yeah, it's a lovely project. And so that is basically it. Before I go, I did want to say that we are doing a very, very important giveaway and survey. As part of the giveaway, we would like to hear from you. So I don't have a slide for the actual website address, but it is sweetgeorgiayarns.com/oct24. And then if we can pop that in the chat, we'll let you know. sweetgeorgiayarns.com/oct24 is the link to join the giveaway. And the giveaway will be for any full skein of tough love that you would like, plus a mini skein in any color that you would like. So a full skein and a mini skein. And so then you could make yourself, a pair of socks that have contrasting heels and toes. You could use the mini skein for contrast on something else. You could knit this into a hat. You could do all sorts of things. Doesn't have to be a hand painted color. It could be a solid color, anything. Thank you so much, Bridget. So Bridget's just popped in the giveaway link there. Yes, so the goal is that in the next 2, 3 weeks, we are going to be doing a ton of planning for all of 2025. So we are going to be planning all of the secret stash colors for next year and the yarn bases that we're going to be using. We are going to be planning content for the school, what courses we're going to do, what workshops we might hold, what blog posts we're going to write, what tutorials we're going to make, what YouTube videos we're going to make. We are going to talk about all of that stuff in the next 2 weeks. And so this is your chance to let us know what you would like to see in the school, on the blog, on the YouTube channel, like everything. We're also still planning to do the audio podcast or the podcast with conversations and interviews and things like that. So if you have someone that you would like us to reach out to interview, to chat with, I would love to know who you would love to hear from. Um, yeah, who would you find interesting? What do you find interesting nowadays? So I would love to hear from you guys and your feedback, what you want to see us do next year. And so in our planning sessions that are coming up, we will like review and incorporate feedback and things like that. So we are listening to everything you guys say. There's plenty of courses that happen purely because members of the school asked for them and requested things, and we are here to make content that will be useful and helpful to everybody who's interested in the fiber arts. So please do check out that link, and that survey will close at the end of October. Then we'll pick some winners. We'll let you know. But yeah, in the meantime, we will definitely be using and reviewing all of your feedback for that. So that is that. And then these are the places that you can find us. So we are obviously in a lot of different places. We are here on YouTube. You can find me on Friday. What I'm trying to do is get really consistent, back and consistent on releasing videos every Friday. And my hope is actually to do more if I can, but the goal is at least every single Friday to have something ready for you. So YouTube is something that we're spending quite a bit of time doing. And you'll also find us on Instagram as well. We're also doing a lot of chat in Discord. So the Discord channel that we started last year, we've had it for about a year and a half now. It is really hopping in there. There's a lot of chat. There's a lot of like very live. We're watching one of the members of the Discord build a Glamacra loom right now from sticks, and it's quite amazing. It's watching everybody learn things. You can follow. There's a 3D printing chat where people are printing 3D printed tools for the fiber arts. It's quite amazing, all of the things that people are doing. I was exposed to sort of color work crochet through the Discord channel. I've just learned so many things from our whole community here for Sweet Georgia. It's just a lovely place to be. People are really warm, people are really inviting and encouraging. And so thank you. I see some of you guys in the chat here as well. So that is wonderful. And then of course, on the school side of things, we do have our forums, our community forums, where you can connect directly with the instructors of the courses. And then we have our SOS meetups. So mostly on Monday evenings, we have actually a number of Zoom meetups that you can attend. And my weaving meetup that I meet with all the weavers from SOS once a month, that one is recorded. And Greta meets with spinners who are doing fiber prep. So making rolags, blending, carding, blending boards, drum carders, all those kinds of things. She's meeting with spinners once a month on Monday evenings as well. And those are also recorded. And so those are all available inside the School of Sweet Georgia. And then finally, we are posting a ton of new articles on the Sweet Georgia blog. And hopefully they are all helpful, educational, interesting articles that you guys can read and learn some things from, learn some new tips. And so, yeah, we're continuing to build that out as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate you guys for putting your comments and your feedback in the survey. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It will come in very, very helpful. So thank you guys. And I just leave you here with a photo of my loom with a sneak peek of one of the projects that came off the loom for that hand painted warps class. And I definitely will be talking more about hand painted warps in the future. I love, love, love them. But that is that for this month. I hope that all the Canadians in the chat here that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. I am going to be away for about a week, and then I'm back in town. And yeah, if I don't see you, it would be nice to see you guys on Discord, and have a happy Halloween as well before I see you guys in November. And thanks so much for being here today. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye for now.